In this transfer window, Leeds United are at least solidly linked with three very, very talented players, specifically Shea Charles, who we have reportedly made a bid of £20 million for, Julian Brandt, who we're chasing on a free, and Harry Wilson, who were reportedly fairly close to signing on a free. However, the story surrounding Shea Charles is one of those that has been a little bit murky and incredibly competitive with multiple clubs trying to sign him. But a bit of news has come out today that sort of cleared things up in terms of what the story is actually looking like. And in addition to that, one of the clubs that was rumoured or linked to be signing Shea Charles has slipped away and been a little bit rebutted. So I'm going to run through exactly what's going on with the Shea Charles story in this video and hopefully give you a better idea of what the situation actually looks like. But before I do, just subscribe. It's the easy enough to click button down there. Just thanks. About half of you aren't, which is quite sad. But anyway, let's get into it. So, Leeds United, a couple of days ago, were linked with a move for Shea Charles. Not only linked, but we had reportedly put in a bid of £20 million. This is where there was a little bit of confusion, with some saying that it was 15 million with add-ons bringing it to 20, others saying it was 20 million with add-ons bringing it upwards to some unknown sum. But the general gist was there was a £20 million figure Leeds had put in the bid, and very shortly afterwards, the bid had been knocked back by Southampton, who said no. Now, in the time since, we found out a little bit more information. First of all, that Southampton need to do a lot of selling in this window. Rumour is they need 70 to 75 million pounds in order to fill in that sort of funding gap that they've missed from not being in the Premier League this season, which is very, very funny considering they spied to try and get there. But in addition to that, Shay Charles is actively looking for a move. So this isn't even one of those cases of they can look to sell someone different instead. This is a case of he doesn't want to be at Southampton, Southampton need the money, and various clubs, including Leeds United, want to sign him. So it's one that makes a hell of a lot of sense for all parties involved to get sorted. Now, we also knew that Leeds United were interested. Leeds United put a bid in. Very, very nice. That's good. However, there was also reported interest from Everton, a little bit of bits and bobs from Aston Villa that I'd heard about, and also Manchester United, which makes a little bit of sense because what they tend to do is they tend to sign young players and try to bring them through, and they tend to ruin their promise incredibly hard, and it's very, very funny. But it would make a lot of sense for them to try and sign Shea Charles. It would make a lot of sense for him to want to go to them. But in the end, it turns out that was more of just a rumour. There have been various sources now saying that Manchester United are not looking at that move, even if he would be decent defensive midfield cover, potentially fill that sort of Casemiro-y space in the coming years, but he seems to not be going to Manchester United, which opens the door significantly more for the likes of Leeds United. Very, very nice, good to see. Now, the question comes surrounding what Southampton would specifically like. The number that has been bandied around in terms of what they would want in terms of a fee is looking like around £25 million, which kind of makes a little bit of sense. They've knocked back 20. We wouldn't put in a formal bid if we'd talked to the player and his agent and they've said between them they want £40 million. There's no way we go in with 20 in that case. The target price is presumably very much within range if we've come in with 20. That makes sense with the rumours that we heard before, with it being 20 plus add-ons, presumably bringing it to 25. However, with Southampton's financial troubles, as previously mentioned, they're likely going to want that cash up front, because add-ons can be very, very questionable. It can be a case of you need to get to the final of an FA Cup to unlock another £1 million. You need to qualify for Europe for another £1 million. You need 200 Premier League appearances for the player, and you might get another £2 million. It's incredibly complex, and that means that Southampton could look at that and kind of go, well, no, because we're not going to take that, because we need money now. We don't need money in 5 years' time when Shay Charles is leaving your club and we might get a 10% sell-on fee. That doesn't work out for us in the slightest. And whilst we might be in a situation where, sure, we can make the move as much as we want, Southampton don't have to say yes yet. This is where things get a little bit complicated. I say yet because whilst we might be going from PSR, profit and sustainability regulations, to the squad cost ratio, they still have annual balance books to balance. Which means that with the end of that balance book coming on the 30th of June, they're going to need to sell someone before that point. and they are rumoured to have various players that other clubs are interested in. I think, is it Juan Larios that was the winger that played for Southampton last season? Is being rumoured with a move away because he was a very, very good winger. I'd say probably too good for the Championship. They ended up not getting promoted, and he's probably going to want to move away. Issue being, Shea Charles is one of the players that there is more news about at the minute, which says that there is a hell of a lot of a chance that he's going to move before the 30th of June. I'm also keeping an eye on the Wilson and Brandt deals with the 30th of June in mind, because that's when their contracts expire. And the moment those contracts expire, we can expect to see news on movement. But that's a different case. That's just the sort of dynamics of football finance, in which if a player leaves, end of their contract is going to be the 30th of June. This is more the financial accounting sheets and all that kind of stuff expire 30th of June, new financial year's on the 1st of July. If Southampton are very much in the hole for the 25-26 season, which they will be, their wage bill will have been absolutely ridiculous when they came down. That means they're going to bump into that little bit of a problem of our wage bill is obscene, TV revenue is nothing, we've made minus 60 million quid in the Championship. And sure, you're allowed to lose a little bit more money on 1 or 2 years because PSR, squad cost ratio, whatever it is going to give you that little bit of lenience to say, okay, you had a couple of bad years. As long as you made it up in the 3rd year of the list, fine. I don't know if Southampton have had the opportunity to make up that gap, which means a move for Shea Charles is right around the corner, I think. I might be wrong. They might have other players that are potentially looking at moves. They might have somehow balanced something. They might sell a stadium to themselves or sell their women's team to their under-18s or something bonkers like that. But as far as I can tell, Shea Charles' stint at Southampton is going to end very, very soon, and the significant bits of news we are seeing about this move is coming from Leeds United links. I've not heard anything about an Everton bid, and Everton tend to be fairly leaky when it comes to news coming out. I've not heard anything about a Aston Villa bid, and I've actively heard a couple of people briefing against the fact that Manchester United have an interest now. Everything is lining up in the direction of a potential Leeds United move in the coming days. I'm going to put my neck on the line and say we probably hear significantly more before the 30th of June. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's purely based on deadlines and all that kind of stuff. It might not be the case, but everything adds up and makes a little bit of sense that we're making this move now because we know that Southampton need to accept it. And to cut something off, I know a lot of people might sort of go, I thought we spent every penny that we could. In theory, yes, but we forecast ourselves to come 17th in the table. That's where we expected to be, just about surviving. We finished up 14th, which earns £9 million extra of prize money from the Premier League, which means we've got £9 million of this season's finances to throw at a player, which means that we can amortise it a little bit more, give him a, I don't know, call it a 4-year contract, that's £5 million per year of amortisation. We can take that loss right now, and we'll be able to take that loss over the next 3 years, whereas Southampton can't take that missing revenue. So I think everything is aligning to say that a Shea Charles move early is coming, and we're the only ones that are lining up that early move. So hopefully that all works out, but we'll find out. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there because I got a little bit rambly in the middle because I have a half-asleep baby currently on me, and I'm desperately trying to keep her a little bit soothed, so that's why you've only seen this hand rather than this hand. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed. Like and subscribe and comment and all that kind of stuff. In fact, comment who you think the first player that Leeds are going to sign in this window is going to be. I'm kind of curious. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. I will see you all later. Toodaloo.